They said it wasn't humanly possible. But now you can have all the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy. It's portable, it's in stereo, and its games are interchangeable. Plus, Game Boy comes with the outrageous new game, Tetris. And for head-to-head competition, use the revolutionary video link and blow your opponent away. Game Boy, only from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, portable power.
CGQ Plus.
All right, today we're going to do another one of these collection videos. Like I already did my Genesis collection and my PlayStation 1 collection. And today we're going to do Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. And the reason I'm doing this all of a sudden is that I finally got around to buying box protectors for my Game Boy boxes. And, you know, normally I don't get that nerdy about my collection, although, I mean, I have a video game collection, so that's already nerdy enough. But I get a little bit nervous about my cardboard box games just because, you know, it's just thin cardboard. And so I just worry about, I don't know, it getting damaged just by being exposed to, I don't know what, the temperate environment inside my house. I don't know. I just, you know, it gets dusty and then I vacuum them off. But, you know, I don't know. I just worry about them, and I would just feel a lot more comfortable if, like, my cardboard box games had some kind of protection, especially because I don't store the games in the boxes. So I have the boxes, I guess, just to have them. The games are, like, you know, out and just in little plastic clamshell cases. So this way the boxes can just live in these protectors and I don't have to worry about them anymore. So I also bought a few of those protectors for my NES boxes, but I don't have that many. I only have about 10 NES boxes. And then, and then I bought some for my Super Nintendo boxes, but sort of the same thing. That's better. Sorry about that. Sorry, sort of the same thing. I only have a handful of Super Nintendo boxes, so not really a big deal, but I have a decent amount of Game Boy boxes. So what I'm going to do basically is I'm just going to take each box off the shelf and talk about the game a little bit, or any memories I might have of the game, or why I own the game, and pop it into a box protector, and we're going to stick it on the shelf. So this is the shelf where I keep my Game Boy games. Normally this shelf is upstairs. It's just like a CD shelf, but it's nice because you can actually adjust the shelves. So we'll just put each one on the shelf and then move on to the next one. So how long will this video be? I don't really know, but judging by my track record, probably pretty long. So the other thing that I guess I'll say, so any Game Boy game that I bought new, I kind of left the shrink wrap on the box. Like I just cut a flap in the top of the box so that I could get the game out. And sort of protect the box. But I just, you know, this shrink wrap does kind of get brittle over time and also can shrink and damage the box. So I figure as long as we're doing this, I'm going to go ahead and remove the shrink wrap. So this first game, as I suppose you saw, is Baseball Advance. And I feel kind of bad starting off the show with a sports game, but I think it's actually going to be the only sports game. So that's pretty cool. I got Baseball Advance. Oh, and by the way, I may or may not end up, I'll probably put some gameplay footage in this episode. You know, with the Mister, it's easy to record high quality Game Boy Advance footage. Well, any Game Boy footage, really. I don't have a GameCube with a Game Boy player, so Mister is how I'm going to end up doing it. But anyway, the Baseball Advance. So I don't know if it's still the case, but I know that for a while at least, Baseball Advance was kind of selling for not a lot of money, but I guess more than you would expect a sports game to sell for. The interesting thing about Baseball Advance is that it's actually a Sega game, but it doesn't say that on the front of the box. It just says THQ because THQ published it. But if you read on the back, it says developed and co-published by Sega. And what Baseball Advance is an entry in Sega's World Series Baseball series. And in fact, if you play this game, you will recognize some of the sound effects are pulled directly out of the Saturn World Series baseball games. It's just a really good baseball game. I got this game right after I got my Game Boy Advance SP. So originally I had the standard Game Boy Advance with the backlit screen, and I liked it well enough, but I used to have this spot on my couch. This is when I was a college student. I had this spot on my couch where I would lay and play, because there was a big lamp, floor standing lamp right behind me that would light up the screen. But certainly that was kind of suboptimal. It's kind of why I didn't buy a Game Boy Advance right away, is because it still didn't have the lit up screen. But I didn't buy Baseball Advance like when I got my SP, but it was shortly afterwards, and I've played a hell of a lot of this game. I still have my season going on here, so I never actually finished a season, but this was when I'm a Giants fan, and this was when the Giants were pretty good. What year did this game actually come out? 2002, which the Giants went to the World Series in, I believe, 2002, and unfortunately lost. But point is, they were a good team. And this game only has, I think, 4 real stadiums in it, but the Giants stadium, which at the time I think was still called Pac Bell Park, is in it. So it's just a cool game. See, now there it is. It's in the box. These box protectors make the boxes look nicer because it makes them look glossier. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's it. So that's Baseball Advance. And again, like I said, I believe that's the only sports game that we're going to be talking about. So that'll make people happy. By the way, I'm not going to show like consoles. I mean, I think you've already seen my boxed original Game Boy. I have a black Game Boy Advance SP, the 101 that has like the brighter backlit screen, which is awesome. And then I have the NES Classic sort of collector's Game Boy Advance SP, which I don't really use because it has the older backlit screen, which is fine, but not great. But the next game here that we are going to talk about, I've already talked about, so I'm not going to go over it in detail. This got covered in an episode of Flashback, and yeah, this was one of the games that I had when I was a kid. I remember riding my bike to Target and buying this game right before I went on a trip to go see my dad, like a train trip to go see my dad. This game I actually got, kind of funny enough, and I think I've told this story already too, but we have a comic book shop here that also sells video games. And, to be honest, they're not really a very good deal. Like, the guy goes by eBay prices, and then even then, sometimes I think he marks up the price a little bit more. So it's not really the best place to buy video games. But, sometimes you find some good deals in there. Or, sometimes I'll find a game in there where you're paying full price for it, but it's a game that I thought would be cool to have, and so I'll just buy it. But I actually got this copy of Batman I bought there, and it was like $7, even though it's complete in the box. Now, I have no idea what a boxed copy of Batman should go for. Like, maybe it's just a super cheap game, but it's one of those games that for me was 100% worth $7, just because the nostalgia factor, and also because it's just a really good game. Someone might end up asking about these box protectors. I can put a link in the description. I don't remember the name of the place where I bought them. One thing I'll say, I looked on like Amazon, and I might have even looked on eBay, and it seems like those are just people who are buying these box protectors from the manufacturers and then marking them up. So I ended up buying these box protectors directly from some website where I guess they make them. And so they were way cheaper that way. But the other thing I was going to say, because you just saw, I put Baseball Advance was kind of in there upside down, so that like the spine of the protection box was facing out, and I don't want that. If you open and close them too often, they are plastic, and you can feel the seams or whatever already getting loose from opening and closing them. So I don't recommend that you do that. Wow, I think I got this on a work trip one time. So this is Blackthorne for the Game Boy Advance. And I bought this at a place called the Game Peddler, which I want to say is in Salt Lake City, Utah, I think. but I wouldn't swear to it. You know, I've mentioned this before, but, you know, I used to have this job where I had to travel a lot. And so one of the things because I was traveling to sort of the same 4 or 5 cities over and over again. And so I just knew where, like, all the video game stores were, or if there was a particularly good thrift store. And then while I was there, if I had extra time, I would go looking for stuff. And so that's how I got Blackthorne here. Blackthorne came out originally on the PC, and then there were ports of it on the Super Nintendo and the Sega 32X. And I don't remember I feel like there were more than that, but those are the two that I recall. But I originally played Blackthorne on the PC. It was one of the games that natively supported the Gravis Ultrasound, which was my sound card of choice. But Blackthorne's just a really, really good game. It's like a side-scrolling action game, but it plays more like... It has some of the same controls as, say, like Prince of Persia or Flashback, or I guess maybe Out of This World. No, not really Out of This World, but it's a lot darker and it's a little bit more violent. It's just a really cool game. It's definitely sort of like a chill out kind of game. It's not super hard, but it's just got a lot of exploration that you do. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's the kind of game you can just put on like a Saturday afternoon and just play the crap out of, which is exactly how I played it back then. So this next game is another one that I had growing up. I should say this, though. None of these games are my original copy. Not that I think that actually matters, but, you know, when I got a Game Boy Advance in... I think, it was in 2001. So, like, I didn't get my Game Boy Advance, like, right when they came out or anything. But, you know, one of the things I started doing was rebuying all of the Game Boy games that I had originally had. The backwards compatibility of the Game Boy Advance was, for me, a big selling point. Because not only did I want to play GBA games, but being able to finally go back and play Game Boy games was cool. Because, as I've said before, my Game Boy inexplicably broke my original game. Like, I didn't drop it. I've always been good at taking care of my stuff, but something happened. The screen just, you know, wouldn't work anymore. And no, it was not that the contrast wheel was, you know, turned off all the way. So being able to finally go back and play all those games was a big selling point for me. Like I said, this game is the Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle, which is it focusing when I do that? I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are down on the Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle games. This game was also released on the NES, and it's literally the exact same game, except obviously on the NES it's in color, and here it's in black and white. But each level in this game, you get like a little code. Like once you beat a level, here's your code so you can continue. You can use those codes on either game. So if you have both, you could start a game on the Game Boy and then continue it on the NES, go back to the Game Boy, etc. It's sort of an action puzzle game. Maybe that's why people don't like it, is they want to play it more like a regular side-scrolling action game. Like, you know, you're Bugs Bunny, and you have to collect all the carrots in a level, and then that will bring the level to a conclusion. But there's bad guys, and I mean, weirdly, it's Sylvester and Daffy and Yosemite Sam, and I don't remember if there was anybody else. Those are like the bad guys, and if you run into any of them, you die. And but you don't have any offensive capabilities whatsoever. Although sometimes there'll be stuff in the level like a bucket, and you can kick the bucket, and that'll slide into one of those guys and like get rid of them. But I'm saying you can't like jump on people. In fact, you can't jump at all. And so I think some people get frustrated trying to play this game because maybe they go into it thinking they know what the game is going to be about, and then that's not the kind of game it is. But I like the game quite a bit. I think I bought it pretty much just because it's Bugs Bunny, and I loved Bugs Bunny. And the main memory I have of playing Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle was at the end of the school year in 7th grade. We all took like a class trip to Magic Mountain, which if anybody doesn't know, it's a big amusement park owned by Six Flags. So it'd be kind of like going to Disneyland-ish. But it was this thing where, you know, you had to pay however much money, you know, get a permission slip and a check from your parents. And we all got on a bus and went to Magic Mountain. And I brought my Game Boy, and we were all playing that in the back of the bus, and like somebody brought like a portable radio, and we were listening to cassette tapes, and it was just good times. So now next we have 3 Castlevania games in a row, and what's funny is I'm pretty sure that I played these games in the exact reverse order. I think. And the reason for that is when this game came out, I haven't done like the launch of the Game Boy Advance, so I guess I don't know for sure, but I think Castlevania Circle of the Moon was a launch game for the Game Boy, but the Game Boy Advance, excuse me, but because it doesn't have a backlit screen, the game is just too dark, in my opinion, to really be playable on the original Game Boy Advance hardware. And so I never got it. But then when I got my SP, the first game that I got was Aria of Sorrow, right? Isn't that what it's called here? I mean, we might as well just talk about all 3 of them here at the same time. Yeah, Aria of Sorrow is the first one that I got because this was the one that was new and was easily found on store shelves. And so I bought this one and beat it. And then the second one I ended up playing, why is this in here backwards, was Harmony of Dissonance. And kind of, I don't know if it's a funny story or not, but the way I played Harmony of Dissonance is that, I lived right near a GameStop. Was it EB Games or GameStop? Who cares? And I kind of just got a little bit friendly with the guys that worked there. And so, like, they would let me borrow games. That, like, if it was a used game that they had in stock, he would let me take it home. He'd just bring it back tomorrow or whatever, Like if I was there at closing or something. And I think he actually let me hang on to Harmony of Dissonance for a few days because for sure I beat it. And I enjoyed both of those games. I like the Metroidvania style of these newer Castlevania games. And so I think the last one I got is I went out and I bought Circle of the Moon just because I liked them, these other 2 so much, and so I wanted to play that one too. And I mean, to be sure, all 3 of them are great games. But kind of a funny thing about Aria of Sorrow here is I remember, when did this game even come out? Like 2003 it says. So sometime in like 2004, maybe in 2005, I used to go to Toys R Us like quite a bit because I had this weekend job where I had to drive to the Bay Area, and there was a Toys R Us like right off the freeway on the way back, and so I would stop there and just look for like see what games maybe they had on clearance or whatever. And I remember that they had Aria of Sorrow. They had a ton of copies of them, and I don't remember how much they were, but they were on clearance. And I mean, because these games were like what, maybe $30, I want to say, when they were new. This one doesn't want to stay in there. And so maybe it was like 15 or 20, but it's one of those things where it's just like, man, I could have just bought a bunch of copies and just like put them in the closet or something. But I mean, that's not the kind of thing that I want. That's not the business I want to be in anyway, right? So why would I do that? I guess, but. Anyway, just all 3 of these are great games, and I have great memories of playing all of them. Next, all right. These kind of go together too, so I'll talk about these at the same time as well. I think I bought both of these through the mail in like 2004, and it was something I bought like brand new, like not on eBay. The first one here we have Dragon Warrior 1 and 2. And I've talked about Dragon Warrior, I think, already. In fact, I think it was on the episode where I also talked about my Castle Legos, if I'm remembering correctly, the flashback episode. I had Dragon Warrior on the NES when I was a kid, but the game, I would say, is pretty difficult. Is not the right word. It's Dragon Warrior is not a difficult game, but the whole game is really designed around you grinding a lot. And I think part of the reason for that is that there really isn't a whole lot to actually do in Dragon Warrior. And so the way they kind of made the game be longer is you just have to spend hours and hours and hours grinding to get your levels up and also to get enough experience. So the reason I bring that up is that when they redid it for the Game Boy Color, they changed that. So you don't need nearly as much experience to go up levels. And I think they also changed the economy in the game so that you don't need as much money to buy things, or you get more money for killing enemies. I don't remember which. So this game ends up being a lot shorter because it cuts out a lot of the grinding. It also has some cutscenes added that help flesh out the story, which is nice. And the translation has been completely redone, which I think makes it better. They also completely redid the music, so although it's the same tunes, it sounds a lot better because, you know, the Game Boy hardware actually has better audio hardware than the NES and Famicom did. And somehow, even though the Game Boy Color is lower resolution than the NES and Famicom, I swear somehow the games seem like they look better. So I don't know how that's possible, but you know, I'm sure that like RPG purists would maybe look down on these games because they're you know, Dragon Warrior games that have been made a little bit less laborious, so that maybe they make more sense to play in a portable form. But like, at least for me, like I would say that to me that's like the definitive version of Dragon Warrior versus playing the original on the Famicom. Like, I like the original NES game just for the nostalgia factor and whatnot, but if you've never played Dragon Warrior or Dragon Warrior 2 before, I would recommend playing this Game Boy Color version instead. And this is also a game you can play on the Game Boy or the Game Boy Color. Obviously, it'll be in black and white on the original Game Boy. But yeah, cool game. And then, you know, because of that, I went ahead and got Dragon Warrior 3, which this is kind of an interesting game because it's, again, a Game Boy Color game, but it came out after the Game Boy Advance was already out. I don't know if it's going to focus so you can see, but there's a really small emblem right there. Well, not emblem, I don't know what you want to call that, but it says compatible with the Game Boy Advance because they're trying to, you know, get Game Boy Advance owners to purchase it. And I feel like I beat this game a long time ago, but I wouldn't swear to it. But I mean, it should just be, I believe it's just a port of the NES game. So I guess Dragon Warrior 4 would be the only one that didn't come out on the Game Boy, or maybe it did, and I just don't know it. It's so weird to me that we got 4 Dragon Warrior games on the NES, and then 3 of them came to the Game Boy Color, and then they just decided they were going to stop releasing Dragon Warrior games here during the 16-bit years, so that in this country we have no Dragon Warrior game on the Super Nintendo. So holy crap! So now I have 5 games in a row here from the same franchise, and I don't really have anything all that interesting to say. Sorry, somebody trying to talk to me on Discord. I don't really have anything interesting to say about these games because they're all just re-releases of games that appeared elsewhere, and this one's sealed, and I didn't even know that. That's the only one. So I'm just I'll show them all real quick, and then I'll probably just speed up the video while I put these all into their box protectors. Basically, it's all the Final Fantasy releases on the Game Boy Advance. So we have Final Fantasy 1 and 2. Then we have Final Fantasy 4. Final Fantasy 5. Final Fantasy 6, which as I said, is still sealed, which I didn't realize that. And I believe that is a Circuit City price tag. And if you can't see the price, it was $16.96. So that would be another game that I got on clearance. And then finally, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, which Final Fantasy Tactics would definitely be in the running if I was thinking of the game that I've purchased the most number of times. I bought it twice on the PlayStation because I bought it once and then I sold it because I think I just maybe didn't get it or something. And then I bought it again, and then I have this version, and then I have it on the PSP. And for some reason, I could swear I have it another way besides just that. So, but it's a testament to how good of a game it is, I would say. Don't I? I think I have it on the. Did it come out on the Switch? I was just playing it again not too long ago. So I'm not gonna unseal Final Fantasy VI here, just because, the thing is, at this point, I'm not somebody who collects sealed games. Like, I bought this game thinking I'm gonna play it at some point, but now between Flash Carts and a Mister, there's just no reason to open it. And I mean, it's kind of a shame, but at the same time, like, I'm not gonna unseal a game like that just for the sake of unsealing it, just because that seems like kind of a stupid thing to do. But then at the same time, like I said, it's not like I'm in the business of collecting sealed games. I didn't know I had that one sealed. There is one other game, at least, I think just one, that I have coming up later that is sealed. Sorry, they're glued together on one side, so you want to make sure that that's the side that's going to face the back, just so that they look nice once you put them on the shelf. I don't remember what I paid for these box protectors, but they're not expensive. And I bought 25, they're cheaper if you buy more. And, obviously I bought the amount that I needed. I'm not just going to buy more for the sake of buying more, but I bought 25 of these Game Boy ones. I bought 25 Game Boy, 10 Super Nintendo, which the Super Nintendo ones also work for N64. If you have any boxed N64 games, which I do not. And then I bought 10 NES box protectors, and I want to say the total for that ended up being like somewhere in the 30s, but I could be way off. I've been meaning to buy these box protectors for like literally years. I always look at my Game Boy shelf here, and I always think like, man, I need to get these into box protectors, especially because maybe you noticed that Harmony of Dissonance was already in a box protector, and that's because I bought that game off of somebody on the forums. My friend Austin, who he does his own streaming show, Gameplay and Talk. I don't know if Austin watches my show, but if you're out there, Austin, that's your copy of Harmony of Dissonance. But anyway, when he sent that to me, it was already in a box protector, and so I saw like, man, these look nice in box protectors. But I mean, that was like literally years ago. And I never got around to buying more. Next Game Boy Advance game we have here. This was one of the first Game Boy Advance games that I bought, not the very first one. That is Golden Sun. And I have great memories of playing this game. So this was, I mentioned laying on that couch with that floor standing lamp behind me. And I mean, I think I laid in that position long enough to almost beat Golden Sun, and so I just have great memories of playing the game. The problem with Golden Sun that I ran into is that it turned out that, so I got to the final boss. So I've never beaten the game, but I got to the final boss, and the problem is that's how I found out that my characters were not leveled up enough to beat the final boss. But there's no, like, I didn't have a save game somewhere prior to that so that I could like exit out of that situation and go grind a little bit. So, that makes a strong case for having multiple save games, but I didn't. So basically that game save is useless. I mean, maybe somebody who's better at the game would be able to beat the boss, but I mean, I tried many times and I just couldn't do it. So, I mean, it wasn't even close. Like, he was just ruining me. So, and then you notice when you get these box protectors, they're flat. So what I'm doing is you have to kind of bend them a little bit to give them their shape. So, yeah, that way. This next game, this is not a game that I had when I was a kid, and I'm not really sure why I have a boxed copy of it. I mean, it's a good game and I like it, I must have gotten a good deal on it on eBay or something. And that's Kirby's Dream Land. And it's funny because the same thing is true of Kirby's Dream Land and Super Mario Land. People will play this game and say, man, this game is super easy. And it's the same thing with Super Mario Land. You can beat Super Mario Land in, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And you just think, oh, that game is so easy. But the way these games worked, I'm assuming that the size of the ROM chip inside these early Game Boy games was just very small. So they couldn't make that big of a game. You're supposed to keep playing it. Like, you're supposed to play another loop and another loop and another loop, and it gets harder with each subsequent loop. But if you don't know that, you're just going to think like, wow, this is like a baby game or something. But I like the Kirby games. I rented, is that Kirby's Adventure it's called, on the NES when it was current. And I mean, they're just fun games. You got the little cute guy that, you know, sucks up enemies and stuff. Just a neat game. All right, another Game Boy Advance game here. I should say, when talking about the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Advance is really probably the only system I can think of where I was really sort of into collecting for it, if you want to say that, while it was like a current system. Like, I would buy games for it just because, like, well, I want to have that game as part of a collection, or like I know that game is going to end up being hard to find if I don't buy it now. Because that's what would happen with Game Boy Advance games. Like, they would come out, most of them, and then at some point they would sort of sell out at retail, and then you just really couldn't track down a brand new copy anymore. And that included a lot of good games. And so I got really good. Like, every Sunday I would read the ads, like the Target ad, the Best Buy ad, etc. And I would look to see what new Game Boy Advance games came out, or I would see like what games were on sale, and I would pick up. I mean, they're cheap enough. Like, these games were like, you know, $30 a piece, $35 a piece, that, you know, you could buy them pretty frequently. This is Mario Golf Advance Tour, which, if I remember correctly, was actually coded by Camelot. Yep, Camelot. Plays very much like Hot Shots Golf. And I mean that in a good way. These Mario Golf games are all really, really good. Next, we've got, this is another example. Like, I remember, like, you know, going out to, I think I got this either at EV Games or GameStop, because it's another one of these games where I was like, you know, grab it now or you're not going to be able to find a brand new copy. That's Mario Kart Super Circuit, which plays very similarly to the Super Nintendo version. It's funny, I was definitely under the impression back then that the Game Boy Advance was like essentially a Super Nintendo in, you know, portable form. And that's really not true. The Game Boy Advance is actually far more powerful than a Super Nintendo. But you ended up getting a lot of like ports of Super Nintendo games, or in some cases like enhanced ports. And Super Circuit is not a port of the original Mario Kart, but it has a very similar feel. But I mean that in a good way. It's definitely a cool entry in the series. Oh, this is a great game. This is a game you don't really hear people talk about that much. I wish I'd brought it down here, but I guess you've probably seen it in the background of some of my videos when I'm upstairs. I have, and it sits on top of this shelf, which, man, the top of that is dusty. And that's Mario versus Donkey Kong. And this is an awesome game, and what it really, I would say it's basically a direct sequel to Donkey Kong on the original Game Boy, which it's so funny because that's such a good game, Donkey Kong on the Game Boy, but I wonder how many people skipped that game because they really thought that, sorry about that, that like, oh, this is just a port, like another, you know, home conversion of just the Donkey Kong arcade game. Because, you know, if you look at the box art or the label art on the cartridge, it just says Donkey Kong, and even when you load up the game, the first 4 levels that you play are the 4 levels from the original arcade game. So, I mean, I guess that is kind of cool that it does have the Cement Factory level restored, but I'm saying if someone just grabbed that game and popped it in, they would walk away with the impression that it was just a home port of the arcade game, but it's so much more. After you beat those first 4 levels from the arcade game, the game kind of opens up, and even though it's still using the same basic gameplay mechanics as the arcade game, it's really more of almost like an action puzzle game, where in each level you have to get to a key and then carry that key over to a locked door and open it. And of course, you still grab all the same items like the purses and the umbrellas. It still has the same enemies, but it's really a much more varied and deep game than the arcade game ever was. And as I said, this Game Boy Advance version is a direct sequel to that original game. And so, like, for me, I actually played Mario vs. Donkey Kong first, and then I went back and played the original Game Boy game. With this Game Boy Advance version, the gameplay has been expanded a little bit with some new mechanics and whatnot, but it's basically the same game, and it's really an ideal portable, like, pick up and play game, because the levels are all very short, and it saves your progress after each level. Some of the levels get a little bit tough, and there's a little bit of trial and error to figure out what you have to do. But really, in a lot of ways, I think, like, along with a game like Tetris, obviously, Mario vs. Donkey Kong is kind of the perfect Game Boy Advance game. All right, what do we got next here? Oh, boy, I don't remember where I got this, but this was like one of these games that I didn't realize had a Game Boy Color port. And I don't remember if I found out that it did because I saw this for sale at a video game store. I feel like I have a memory of buying this game brand new at KB Toys, back when KB Toys, like sort of towards the end of KB Toys. I feel like I found this in the clearance bin there. And I think that's how I learned that it was even a thing. But this is a game where I've talked about the original. Well, that's not the original, actually, but the Nintendo version on Flashback, and that's Shadowgate. But, I didn't realize that this had ever come out on the Game Boy Color, and so when I saw it, it's just one of these games. I didn't have this game when I was a kid, but Jonathan did. And, I just have some great memories just of watching him play it and kind of being scared. And like I think I said in that Flashback episode, I'm pretty sure that at some point Jonathan let me borrow it. But, there's not really any reason, I guess, to play the Game Boy Color version over the NES version. If you play the original Mac version, on the other hand, that is a fairly disappointing experience, so I don't recommend that. This is another game that I remember I ran out and bought this game as soon as it came out because I was really concerned that if I didn't grab it, this seemed like the kind of game that probably got printed in limited numbers. And so I just remember thinking, like, I need to go grab that game while I still can, because I was just so... And I guess that's the point I didn't make about, collecting these when they were new, is I was just so anal about wanting to have them complete in the box. Like, I think I kind of felt like I missed out on doing that with my NES games when I was a kid. And so this was my way, I guess, of trying to experience something like that, of buying these games and keeping everything just mint. And that is River City Ransom, or isn't it River City Ransom EX? Yeah. And I can't really speak. I don't know enough about the original River City Ransom to really talk about, like, how different this game is. I mean, it's certainly visually, it's greatly upgraded over the original. It has what looks more like, beefy 16-bit graphics. Well, I think the Game Boy Advance is actually a 32-bit system. But if you like River City Ransom, I like beat 'em up games, and I just like how, like, I don't know, Japanesey, I guess, maybe, is that the right kind of term? River City Ransom is like, you go into these little shops and, you buy sushi to, like, restore your health or to raise some of your stats and stuff like that. So it's definitely a neat game to check out, and now, well, obviously if you have a Game Boy player and a GameCube, you can just get a EverDrive, a GBA EverDrive, and play these games that way, or if you have a Mister. But what I'm saying, or if you have a consoleized GBA, that's very few people have those, but if you're lucky enough to have that, I just, for some reason at this point in my life, I don't really enjoy playing handheld games that much. But if I can play those games in sort of a console fashion, like on a screen, then I still enjoy them because they're great games. So a lot of these games that I'm showing are absolutely worth checking out, especially if you have a way to easily play them not in handheld form, unless that's the way you like to play them. This is another game that I had when I was a kid. It was one of the handful of Game Boy games that I got, pretty much right when I got the Game Boy. And as I've said already, I got my Game Boy very early in the Game Boy's life. I got it for Christmas in '89, which was its first Christmas out, which, for me, that was, I guess, uncommon. I got to sort of be at the cutting edge. But in a way, it kind of sucked, as I've said already, because I didn't know anybody that had a Game Boy. So, you could get the link cable, or you could play F1 Race 4-player. I didn't know anybody who had a Game Boy, so I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I don't know what made me get this game, but that is Solar Striker. And when I was a kid, I hated this game. And I don't really understand why. I mean, well, I do understand why. As I've said this many times, I was not good at video games. And so this game used to just kick my butt, and I think that's why I hated it. But it's funny because you play it now. I mean, considering how early of a game this was, it's really not a bad shooter. I mean, if it's not obvious this is a shooting game, it's really a pretty good game. It's not easy, that's for sure. But no good shooter is easy. This one, I think I bought this one on eBay, but this would have been a long time ago. I think I would have bought it on eBay 15 years ago. This is a game that I don't think I really knew about. I guess I should have mentioned that. I never had a Game Boy Color. I skipped the Game Boy Color. And so that's why, I mentioned I was excited about having a Game Boy Advance, because that would mean I could go play my old Game Boy games, because I skipped the Game Boy Color and just didn't have a handheld. I mean, my Game Boy would have given up the ghost probably in the early 90s, maybe let's say in 91 or something. And then the next handheld I bought was an Atari Lynx, but that wasn't until 1995. And even then, I really kind of bought that as just something to screw around with. I didn't buy a Lynx thinking this is going to be my new jam. So I didn't have a Nintendo handheld for 10 years. So I didn't know that Super Mario Brothers Deluxe existed. This is a really, really cool game because it's a pixel perfect version of Super Mario Brothers. But the thing is, the resolution of a Game Boy Color screen is lower than 240p, and so it would actually have to sort of scan around a little bit, which is really not optimal, but it's kind of impressive that they did that rather than shrinking the game down. If you ever play the NES Classics game on the Game Boy Advance, they ended up shrinking it down a little bit vertically, and they don't really look very good. It's funny that those games are really collectible, because I think they look like crap. In fact, I think I got rid of all of mine just because the only reason to have them is for collector purposes, and so I don't really want to have them for that. But yeah, anyway, again, there's probably no reason to play this game in this day and age except just to check it out as a historical artifact, I suppose. So next we're going to go through my Super Mario Advance series, and this is a good example of if you don't get a game while you still can, maybe you're not going to get it. I don't have the original Super Mario Advance. At least I don't have a complete copy. I might have a loose. I don't have my loose Game Boy Advance cartridges down here. I didn't bring them down here because honestly, I don't really have that many loose Game Boy Advance cartridges. But it's possible that I might have the original Super Mario Advance that way. By the time I bought my Game Boy Advance, I think it might have been the case that game was getting harder to find new, or maybe I just decided I didn't want to buy it. I don't know. So the first one that I got was Super Mario Advance 2, which is Super Mario World. So in case anybody doesn't know this, the original Super Mario Advance is just a graphical enhancement of Super Mario Brothers 2, and this is a graphical advancement or enhancement rather, of Super Mario World, which, you know, if we're being honest, is a much better game. The next one that I got was this one, Super Mario Advance 3, Yoshi's Island, which I guess it bears mentioning that at this time when I was buying these games, I had never owned a Super Nintendo. So, like, I was playing these games pretty much for the first time. Like, I'm sure that, you know, growing up, I had played a little bit of Super Mario World, like, at friends' houses and whatnot. But, like, I had never really gotten to sit down and, like, have my own copy of Super Mario World or have access to a copy for, like, a whole weekend so that I could really play through it. And so it's the same thing here. Like, this was my first exposure to Yoshi's Island until I got a Super Nintendo a few years later and started buying games for it. The other thing I remember about this game, I was still in college at this point. This was probably like my senior year of college. But I was living with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, who is really not a gamer. But I remember that she beat this game. I mean, she would need my help sometimes, you know, but she got really into this game. And so she would play it on my Game Boy. And then every once in a while she would come to me with it and be like, oh, can you help me? And I'd have to like beat, you know, some little area for her or something, which she still does to this day. She's not a gamer, but she likes pretty much any Super Mario Brothers platformer. So she still plays those today on the Switch. And then this is the last Super Mario Advance game. And again, I was buying all of these, you know, as they came out, like brand new at retail. We only have 2 more box protectors, so some of these things are not going to have... See, I was dumb. I didn't count my boxes before I bought these, but that's okay. That's Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3. Now, this game I had played a little bit, although, again, I never actually owned this game on the NES, but I believe that I rented it. But so, again, this was like... that's backwards. Again, this was my first chance to really get to sit down and play the game sort of in earnest. So I think, you know, the problem is I guess I got a little bit too carried away talking to you guys and not paying attention to which games were box protector worthy. So we'll have to figure out from here on out. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 more games, and I only have 2 more. Oh, crap. I only have 1 more protector. Wow. I don't think you had the option of buying only 5 is the problem. So, but that's okay. We're still going to go through the rest of the games, obviously. This one I remember my wife actually bought for me. She was going somewhere where they sold Game Boy games, and I said, hey, if they have this game, grab it for me. And that is Super Puzzle Fighter 2, which, I mean, I've already told my story, but this is the only game I ever beat in the arcade on 1/4. But, you know, I still have it on the PlayStation and really enjoy it. So when I found out that it came out on the Game Boy Advance, obviously I wanted a copy. So I have 1 more sealed game, and so I think I'm going to save the box protector for that. And I'll just see if I can find some place online where I can just buy 5 more box protectors. Next, I can't remember, did I talk about this game? Because I think a long time ago, I did some kind of roundup video of RC Pro-Am games. So did I talk about Super RC Pro-Am? I don't remember. Well, I got this game for only $10 at a consignment toy store. That's pretty cool. Has some tape on it, though, so that is not cool. I think the store put moving tape along the bottom of it, or packing tape, rather. I don't like that, but this is a really cool game if you like RC Pro-Am. I'm a big fan of RC Pro-Am on the NES. This is kind of interesting because you don't see this really too often. This is, of course, the most common game on the Game Boy, but the primary way of getting this game was as a pack-in with the Game Boy, in which case you did not get it boxed, and that is Tetris. They didn't start selling Tetris separately like this until later on, just because if you had a Game Boy, you already had Tetris. But a few years later, they started selling, you could buy a Game Boy with no pack-in game for a little bit less money, and then they made Tetris available as a separate purchase. And, you know, I already talked about Tetris on a flashback, so I'm not going to rehash it too much. But, it's not the reason I would say that I got a Game Boy, but I spent countless hours playing Tetris. I wouldn't say that I'm particularly good at the game, but I've always really enjoyed it. I had the Game Boy version, and then Jonathan had the first-party NES version. Although I will go to my grave saying that Tengen Tetris for the game for the Nintendo is the best version of the game. So this is the other game that I have sealed, and the reason that I have it sealed, I bought both of these games at the same time, thinking that I was going to play them and just not really getting around to it. So I opened one and started playing it and never got around to opening the other one, and so it's just still sealed to this day for that reason. And that is Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, which is open, and Oracle of Ages, which is still sealed. So again, that's something I bought both of these games when I was still in college. I bought them online somewhere. I think this was kind of before, not before Amazon existed, but certainly before I was buying stuff on Amazon. So I don't remember where I got it. Maybe eBay, shoot, I don't know. But like I said, I bought them both at the same time. And, I've never bought, I don't think in my life I've ever bought a sealed game thinking to myself that I'm going to keep that game sealed. It's just that, sometimes you buy a game expecting that you're going to play it and you just don't get around to it. And that's just kind of how that goes. And then the last game we have here is Zelda Link to the Past for the Game Boy Advance, which includes the new multiplayer adventure Four Swords, which I've never played. But yeah, again, I did not have a Super Nintendo yet, and so that was my first chance to play Link to the Past. So yeah, that's it for boxed Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games. We're about 50 minutes in, so we're going to go through my loose games, but I'm going to kind of go through them quickly because I have a lot of loose games. But some of them I don't really have anything to say about anyway, but some of them I do. This is a game that I don't think I ever got around to talking about. Oh, that's cool. On Flashback. But this is a game that I actually had back in the day, and that, is it going to focus? I don't think it is. That is Gargoyle's Quest. This is a great, great game for the Game Boy. It's really at its heart just a side-scrolling action game, but it sort of has these RPG elements that make you think you're playing a role-playing game, kind of, even though you're not. I'm getting ready to do a magazine read-through pretty soon where this game gets some coverage in there, and so I'll talk about it more. But it's a Capcom game, and I guess Firebrand is the name of the gargoyle who is the main character, is supposed to be like the Red Devil from Ghosts and Goblins. I guess they figured they were going to give him his own game. I don't really know. That seems like kind of a stupid connection to try to make, but Gargoyle's Quest is a great game. I got a sequel on the NES called Gargoyle's Quest 2, and then there's Demon's Crest on the Super Nintendo. And what I was saying was cool is I didn't realize that behind it, I don't know if that's going to be something you can see, but I have a little folded up piece of paper where I wrote some continue codes on there. I don't remember how I ended up having this game when I was a kid. For some reason, I have this feeling that my grandma got it for me. I don't know if it was something where it was my birthday and she took me to Toys R Us or something. But it's a I've always talked about how I had bad luck buying games when I was a kid because I would really just go off of the box art. But Gargoyle's Quest is just a case where I just got lucky and ended up getting a cool game. It's not an easy game, especially if you're a kid. It was very hard, but it wasn't hard in a way where it made me hate it. I still liked it, even though I wasn't really good enough to play it. Some games here that, I'm not really going to talk about that much. I have Tetris Blast, Tetris Attack. Here's a good one. Metroid 2, The Return of Samus. And I remember I got this game at GameStop. There was somebody in front of me in line trading in some games, and they were going to give, it was like some teenage girl who was, I guess, trading in her game collection. and they wanted to give her like $1 or $2 for this game. I told her, I said, I'll give you, you know, I don't know, $5 or whatever it was. This was like 15 years ago, so I think $5 was not some kind of super low ball offer. And I might have offered her 10. I don't remember, but I'm saying like I bought it out from under the noses of the people at GameStop who were going to just rip her off. Here's a game you don't really hear talked about very often: Mario's Picross. This is a really cool game. There's also Picross DS on the Nintendo DS. I had never played Picross games until Picross DS, and I liked that one so much that I went out and I got Mario's Picross. I think this game is a little bit harder to find. I'm not saying that means that it's like super expensive, although I don't know that it isn't either. But, you know, again, if you just have a flash cart, you don't have to worry about it. But Picross style games are pretty cool, sort of puzzle style games. That I think are worth checking out. Like if you like playing like Sudoku, like thinking in that kind of way, you probably like Picross. I already talked about this game, Donkey Kong. Check it out. It's just a cool game. Next, this Radar Mission. I don't really have much to say about Radar Mission. It's basically Battleship. I just got it because when I got my Game Boy Advance, my friend Rafe let me borrow a bunch of his Game Boy games. And this was one of them. And I just enjoyed, like, I just remember, like, laying in bed at night before I was, you know, when I was trying to fall asleep, playing Radar Mission on my original GBA with, like, I think I might have had, like, a Nyko worm light or something for it. A couple of sports games, Blades of Steel. You know, I really enjoyed playing Blades of Steel on the NES. I never had a copy, but I played it at a friend's house. And then I can't remember, I feel like I talked about this on an episode of Flashback, but I don't remember. NFL football. I bought this game brand new. I was super excited to get it, and this game is absolutely atrocious. That was a very, very disappointing purchase. Super Mario Land. I talked about Super Mario Land multiple times on the show already. I think this was the second Game Boy game I got after Tetris, and to this day I still love it. For a long time, I think people were kind of down on Super Mario Land. It has a very different feel because the game was designed by Gunpei Yokoi's team instead of Shigeru Miyamoto's team, so it just doesn't have the feel of a Mario game in a lot of ways, but it's still really cool. Some of these games are games where you've already seen the boxes, so like Tetris and Batman, because again, I don't store the games in the boxes because why would you do that? This is a very cool game, Solomon's Club. So I love Solomon's Key on the NES, and Solomon's Club is just more of the same, just in portable form. Action puzzle game, I would say, worth checking out. I don't even know why I have this game, the Castlevania Adventure, just because I really think it's a bad game. Like in the early days, I think people were struggling programming games for the Game Boy. Because, you know, if you just played Castlevania Adventure, you would think like, wow, the Game Boy must be a really crappy console. But the games on the Game Boy got better by leaps and bounds. Golf. This is just, you know, the Nintendo, you know, Mario Golf. I think that was also a launch game. If not, it was a very early game. Bugs Bunny, Solar Striker. We already talked about both of those. Smoke Monster, if you're watching, and if I can get this open, Dr. Mario. I've never personally been the hugest Dr. Mario fan. It's fine. I don't think it's a bad game. It's fine. But, you know, it's beloved by a lot of people, and it's, you know, it's a first party game, and it's, you know, it's a solid title. So why wouldn't I want to have that? More launch games here, I think. Tennis. And Alleyway. Alleyway is like Arkanoid, like a breakout game. Super Mario Brothers Deluxe we talked about. Oh, Super Mario Brothers 2, 6 golden coins. Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. This is a very good example. Go play Super Mario Land and then play this. Like, just audio visually and in terms of the controls, it's like worlds better because you could see that developers were sort of figuring out how to like unlock you know, the secrets of the Game Boy hardware, I guess. Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge. again, I'm not super into the Castlevania games on the Game Boy, but you know how it's a Castlevania game. Why wouldn't I want to have that? This is a pretty cool game. Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters. If you like Kid Icarus, it's more Kid Icarus. You know, side-scrolling. What is that? Ancient Greece kind of action. Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. This is the DX version. So this is the version that was made so that it could be played on a Game Boy Color with some sort of enhancements. Super C, so Contra game. Shadowgate Classic we talked about already. Oh, a couple of Konami shooters. We have Gradius Interstellar Assault and Nemesis. I feel like I got the glare there, you know. I feel like I just played one of these on a live stream not that long ago. Is that true? Or am I just making stuff up? The Sunsoft re-release of Final Fantasy Legend 3. I have not played this game at all. I've never played any of the Final Fantasy Legend games on the Game Boy. So my understanding is that they're more like adventure games. Is that true? Somebody out there can tell me. Well, got some empty clamshells here. Another sports game. But if you like Tecmo Bowl, check out Tecmo Bowl on the Game Boy. It's like the exact same game in portable form. Here's another Final Fantasy game. So this is the original Final Fantasy Adventure, but you see this is not the Sunsoft re-release. This is another game that I borrowed from Rafe. I really like it. You know, I don't know if have I ever really talked about, I think I talked about the Apple II GS one time on Flashback. My friend Sean had an Apple II GS, and we enjoyed playing this game there. That's Shanghai. It's like, you know, it's Mahjong tiles, but it's a matching game. It's not like playing actual Mahjong. It's just Mahjong tiles built up into a pyramid, and you have to like match them and get rid of them. Yeah, I really like this game a lot, but again, it's the same thing. Like I had that game at the same time as Radar Mission, and I just have great memories of, you know, just laying in bed playing that game while I was kind of waiting to fall asleep. These are the Dragon Warrior cartridges, which we already talked about. Here's another game. I've never played this game either. It might not even be any good, but I was a huge fan, still am, of the Star Trek The Next Generation TV show. And so maybe the Game Boy game is good, and maybe it sucks. I don't really know. Another game I haven't really checked. I've played this one a little bit, but not extensively. I think I talked about this one in a magazine read-through. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan. I mean, I was a huge fan of the cartoon, but I just personally could never get into the video games. Another Tetris game. This one's really good, though. Tetris DX. So it's Tetris for the Game Boy Color. Sorry, I know it's not focusing. It likes my face better, but I'm going to keep showing them to you anyway. We only have a few more left here. I mentioned this game. This was, I think, a launch game. I could swear I have the box for this game somewhere. F1 Race. So this, when you bought F1 Race, unless I'm not confusing it with a different game, am I? I think it was this one. It came in a really big box because it came with a 4-player adapter. I think when you bought a Game Boy, it came with a link cable so you could link two Game Boys together. But when you bought F1 Race, it came with this little box that had like 4 inputs on it so that you could link 4 Game Boys together. Because, you know, you could assume everybody would still have their link cable. Last sports game, although we only have a couple games left here, baseball. Again, if this wasn't a launch game, it was a very, very early game. And then the last one, so I have never, I don't know how people will feel about me saying this, I have never in my life played a Pokemon game. Not because I have a problem with Pokemon games, it was just sort of like, for me personally, when the Pokemon games came out, I was a little bit too old probably to be interested in them, but I was also not really actively gaming at the time. I don't think this says on it what year. I don't remember I used to have that knowledge at the forefront of my mind. I don't remember what year the first Pokemon game came out, but I have Pokemon Blue. A friend of mine found a Game Boy Color in an e-waste bin at work, and he knew I liked old video games, and so he gave it to me, and it had this game in it. But I've still never played it. People tell me I would like the Pokemon games. I mean, I like role-playing games, but I know this isn't exactly what that is. But people tell me I would like it. I've just never had a reason to play one of the Pokemon games. But maybe at some point I'll get around to it. A couple extra clamshell cases, and then the last thing I have is I have my EverDrive GBX7, which really makes all of those things not something I really actually need to own. So that's it for all of my Game Boy games. It's cool that we got them all into box protectors. It's a bit of a bummer that I'm short a few box protectors, but I'll probably just take a look on Amazon and end up overpaying, just because, you know, I don't personally have any plans to buy any more boxed Game Boy games, really. Although, I mean, it would be nice to have a box for like Gargoyle's Quest or the original Super Mario Land, just because I had those games when I was a kid. But it's probably not the kind of thing I'm going to get around to buying anytime soon. So I'll probably just see if I can buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, 5 more box protectors and call it a day. So, well, I mean, does anybody care? I have a boxed Game Boy cleaning kit. Ooh, I don't think that needs to have its own box protector personally. Yeah. So that's it for this episode of CGQ Plus. Hopefully that was at least kind of entertaining to watch. I don't really know. But if you're still watching, thanks for sticking in there. That's going to do it for this episode, and we'll see you next time.